I've been informed that Isle of the Dead was considered one of the worst games ever created. And yes, yes.
Welcome to an extra special episode of Croina vs FPS, where I snuck into Croina's house and forced her to play an old first-person shooter on a brand new machine. Despite not being a gamer, she decided not to call the police and instead take on Isle of the Dead. Isle of the Dead is one of the last pre-Doom shooters ever released, and is widely considered to be terrible despite its various intriguing gameplay enhancements. Will its comic graphic style and genre blending catch her eye, or will it join the Hall of Infamy with the likes of Terminator Rampage? I left Croina stranded on a desert island outside of a crashed plane. Here are her thoughts on the matter.
Let's just say it's a good job I had the manual, because I hadn't got a clue what to do. I wouldn't have known that it was even a first person shooter at all, because I had nothing when I started. And then you just go to this random airplane. I mean, it didn't really seem that seamless to me. It wasn't really that obvious that you would go to the airplane, because it just looked like one of them props you see whenever you're going around a game. So it wasn't immediately obvious that you had to do that. Did it need it? No, not really. I don't think so. You could have just walked around, because there was a few items on the beach that you could have just picked up, and then you could have taken it from there, rather than going into this kind of arbitrary airplane, which didn't really fit in with the theme of the game, I don't think. So there was an inventory system in this game. I don't think I've come across that really so far in any of the games I've played. It was kind of a bit of a novelty at the start, but whenever you have to start mixing different items in the inventory, that's when it gets a bit complicated, because I mean, I wouldn't have known to do that. Parts of the games I just walked into part of it and then all of a sudden I blew up. I had no idea why, and then you kind of had to do a bit of research and work out that you had to put the oil on the rag and then put the rag on the gun, and then it was just a bit pointless. So it was a bit of a novelty, but I think they just took it a bit too far. The horror, in inverted commas, part of it was very sort of cartoony in nature. Again, I haven't really come across this so far in the games I've played. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a bit of a unique point of the game. Was it necessary? Well, I suppose maybe it would have been just to set it apart, but I mean, it was okay. So it's hard to judge games now compared to this sort of game, because it's just chalk and cheese really. It was just a bunch of pixels to me, but that was a bit of a novel thing to have. I guess it did fit with the tone of the game. Isle of the Dead, yeah, I suppose you would like it to be a bit horror driven. It was definitely better than Dracula, the little Golden Globe statue that was supposed to be a monster or something. I think it was alright, yeah, didn't mind it. So the game started off on a beach. There was just no sort of pointers as to what you were meant to do. I just kind of randomly started walking around. I didn't know how to pick anything up or use anything. Initially on the beach there obviously wasn't any monsters, and you had to go through these certain parts in the trees, which initially wasn't that obvious. It was just a slight shade difference in the trees. Some of them were just rooms, but one of them was like this place full of monsters. I just immediately died as soon as I went in there. Definitely wasn't straightforward at all to play, you know. So the monsters in this game, they were definitely varied. You know, they weren't all just one type of monster. I couldn't really get hardly looking at most of them because I just kept dying. But, well, obviously I suppose there were a bunch of zombies, and somebody that looked like Mario from Mario Kart came around the corner. It was just very frustrating. They just kind of came out of nowhere and you couldn't really move quick enough. You had to be within a certain distance to shoot them, which I've come across before. But yeah, that part of the game was very frustrating. In a vaguely similar vein to the other games I've played, it was all very pixelated and blocky, and it certainly didn't make me feel sick like the Terminator one did. I suppose there was no other way of making it other than making it blocky like that. I mean, it was okay. It looked very... The first thing I thought of was actually Minecraft whenever I first saw it. But I liked the colours. The colours didn't confuse me like the other games. The colours were all very distinguishable. I liked the bright art palette of the game. It was very good. I've been informed that Isle of the Dead was considered one of the worst games ever created. And yes, yes. Yes, I would agree with that. Just purely because you're just left in the middle of this beach. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. And if you lost your manual, you're screwed. I don't know how you're supposed to defeat all them zombies because, well, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a seasoned DOS game player. I think that's a good synopsis of that game. Worst game ever created. So what did I like about the game most? I kind of struggle to think of what some of the good parts of the game were. I guess the inventory part of it was probably my favorite, I guess, because you got to pick up random stuff like a coconut. I'm not sure what the coconut was going to be used for, and you could pick up books and things like that. It was just slightly different to all the other games I've played. So the most frustrating part of the game, which I really didn't enjoy, was going through them caves, or going through that one specific cave that had all them monsters in it. I just can't understand how you were supposed to defeat them all. The controls didn't allow you to move quick enough to shoot them all. Again, you know, I'm sort of clicking away at the mouse to shoot at them. Once every 5 clicks, there's a bullet coming out, and it was just all very frustrating. I really didn't enjoy that at all. And the other part of the game that I didn't enjoy was the fact that the W key, which in maybe about 9 out of 10 of the games I played, is actually the key to move forward, was actually the key to change your weapons, and it didn't always work every time you clicked it. It was just very temperamental. So I kept, instead of going forward, instead of walking forward, I ended up changing between my machete and my gun, which was very, very irritating. I don't want to play that game ever again. I really didn't enjoy it, although I guess it didn't give me a headache, so it wasn't the worst game I've ever played. That title goes to Terminator Rampage.
So there you have it, folks. Isle of the Dead was horrifying, but in all the wrong ways. Will the next terrifying title titillate our tester? Find out next time.
Yep, on to the next one.
Had enough?
Yeah.
Don't want to say any more.
No. What else is there to say about this terrible game you made me play?
This will be a shorter one.
That's what she said.
Hey!